Dave Steadfast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another game of Kings of the North. So we're getting into the next losers round game. It will be Masa versus JimRising. This is going to be a tough one. JimRising, I think Penguin might have mentioned it, a little bit more of a caster nowadays.
Yep.
Masa might not be in total form against Scarlet, but is still usually a very good player. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, definitely. I think they might be a little bit below their maximum, but I think that it's going to make it a better series because it gets a little bit scrappier. And both of them being down in that losers bracket, they're going to want it that much more. Also, shout out to all our fans tuning in from South America and Mexico. Definitely nice to see you tuned in.
Yeah, it's very cool. We have people literally from all over NA.
Yes,
so
yeah.
We could actually stay true to NA.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. No, but this is TVZ. I actually haven't gotten to catch JimRising in a while. He had some kind of, I guess I would say, wonky games, having made it through here by Pili playing Zerg. So you didn't actually get to see his EVP. And I'm not sure we saw too much of his ZVT. But again, he's doing a lot of casting lately.
Well, I know he liked the Mass Muta style back
yes,
in...
I do remember that.
Yes, yeah, back in ZVT. He was pretty good at it, too.
He was, yeah. He was definitely that kind of like weirder style.
Yeah.
So like two-base Muta at the one time was super popular, so that wasn't necessarily his wrong to do that, but it was against like Protoss and Zerg as well, which was a little weird. So he definitely had his own particular style, and I imagine he kept that. Generally, people don't go from being kind of weird to just like being like, I'm just gonna grow old and get to be a normal player. Like they usually stick to their kind of unusual stylings.
Yeah, he might switch up what that means. So he might come up with his own new style. But I think he will have his own style. It's not going to be generic or boring or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be boring games, but it still honestly might be a 3-0. Masa is definitely like tired. He definitely maybe is thinking about his games with Scarlet, right? And maybe even JimRising was able to look at those games against Scarlet and be like, oh, we're Ravager all in, huh?
Yeah.
Like what a great build. We should do that one.
Yeah, I can finish this series in even less time.
Yeah, that's actually the bet they probably have going right now. Like, he has the fastest series. So.
Oh, geez, yeah. Definitely Scarlet's going to be tough to beat on that one. I think it was maybe 20, 25 minutes tops.
For the entire best of 5.
That was crazy.
That's pretty fast. She definitely has a couple of the fastest games, like just like that I've seen in general. I think she had like a 2-minute something, like 2-minute 15 win with an early pool against stats of all people, right? Like she can be pretty quick wins, but
she and that's something that I would say that she's kind of picked up from Masa a little bit. Even though they pick different races and they play different races, Masa's always been a quick cut to the throat, just end the game. Just absolutely...
I agree. Sorry, I'm just thinking like a lot of times when we see people that are up and coming players, and a lot of that term goes to NA players, right? Maybe undeservedly so nowadays, but a long history. A lot of times you see like a lack of bloodlust. Like they get into a decent position and then they just kind of like just do nothing about it and let the person come back.
Yeah,
or make
when
it
you're ahead,
games.
get more ahead.
Yeah, that type of thing.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Instead
And I think probably someone like Artosis has probably shaped that a little bit, similar to how Idra being a very popular player caused so many people, myself included, to play Zerg.
Yeah, that's why you played Zerg?
Yes, it actually is, yeah.
Oh,
also, I was originally a Protoss player, but I could not deal with Zerglings.
Yeah. I was trying to play Protoss and Brood Warrior, and I was like, I can't wall. So, that's a no-go for me.
I can't warp in units.
No, but I was actually thinking, I think I changed to Zerg because of Idra as well, because I was a Terran when I first started. I'm a Terran now.
Yeah.
Right? But
you went back to the respectable race.
I did, yes. Well, it was a perfect timing, too, because that's when Brood and Fester was getting super popular.
Ooh,
so I had a great time.
You were like a convert. You were like, no, I turned away from the darkness.
Yeah, I wish, man. But that's actually, it's like I didn't know it was on the uprise.
Yeah.
I was like, this is something that's happening, but is it really going to stay? And I was like, oh, like 2 years of Wings of Liberty. It's fantastic. But here we see our players and the map order. So starting things off on Mech Depot. A lot of the typical things. I guess we'll never see Catalina.
Yeah,
Feels
I just
bad.
don't think I think that might be Abyssal first map.
Oh, sorry, I read that opposite. You're absolutely correct. It's Abyssal first map.
Yeah, it looks like actually very similar to the other series so far. You have the first 4 maps have been picked, but in different orders, and then Mech Depot is the default 5th map. And no Catalina and no other map.
I think we'd be missing some Odyssey, maybe? But we are missing Odyssey
kind
here,
of surprising because Odysseys, I guess maybe it's the gold base, but it seems like it'd be an okay map.
It could be. Like, for me, and I know they're very different maps. No one has to remind me about that. But for me, Ascension to Iron, Odyssey have so many similarities that that Ascension to Iron has become that kind of almost second default map along with Abyssal. I thought Odyssey usually is the third, but some people actually do like the stylings that come with Acolyte, fast 3 bases, Interloper, the strong 2 base pushes, and Mech Depot is just an interesting map. Nothing too extreme about that one, but it's a nice map. So
yeah, you can wall your natural. You don't really have to worry about getting busted up the natural ramp. Acolyte is a little bit weird, obviously, because it's kind of a forced macro map, but it is a macro map as opposed to, some weird, cheeky, all-in situation like Catalina, where, like, sometimes you're expanding towards your opponent, sometimes you're expanding away. It's just kind of a weird...
Very awkward for the Zerg players generally. But I just noticed that Masa was the one that... Oh, okay. That I was going to... They flipped. I'm not crazy, man. They definitely flipped it. So it makes more sense that Zerg would veto... the Catalina map, because that's generally the wrong third base taken. It creates a very tough game, but the maps that we have here currently should just show who is the best.
Yeah. And so definitely going to be interesting to see if Masa's going to pull out some kind of 2 base cheekiness. Maybe going to go for like some 5 racks, 2 medevac pressure. I think we might see that at some point in the series with like the +1 and the just trying to end the game early.
He does have a bag of builds. We just didn't really get to see it because Scarlet kind of just like cut him before he could do anything.
Yeah.
So
just cut the bag of builds.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right off
just like it drops all of them. He can't hold all these oranges, like, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I mean, he can play mech. He can do. We still see some Terran players even bring up the 2-1-1, even though it's been mostly figured out. Like just maybe surprise their opponent, but a lot of factory builds for sure, which is what he was trying to get to in his games with Scarlet, but never was truly able to.
Yeah, I kind of missed the 2-on-1. It was a really good build that allowed, for me, the better player to win, or at least get an advantage, until Zerg players started kind of metagaming it. Once you had like some gasless 3-hatch styles and like just like 6 queens with scouting.
Yeah,
and
Queens is the answer to anything, like good unit, right?
Yeah, but at least with Hellions, you can run by them on certain maps.
Yeah, I think the power of the Hellions too is that there could be a Hellbat push, there could be a follow-up Banshee, or like there's actually so many builds based around the factory, whereas the 2-1-1 is really. It really is just the 2-1-1, and it's so easy to scout too. You know, a certain number of Marines. Okay, I know what's happening.
Yeah.
The only differences that ever existed were like the Hellbat pushes for 2-1-1.
Yeah.
Which, they've got their fair share of games, to be honest. But nah, most of the 2-1-1's been figured out.
Yeah. I would love to see actually 2-1-1 into that Hellbat 2 base 5 racks all in.
Yeah.
Transition back into the meta because it's a really strong build.
Can be, anyways. I think we see a lot more Zerg players, though. We didn't see it actually today. I mean, just more generalized. But going for like even some faster Overlord speed seems to be making its meta occurrence in Korea and all that. So those types of builds have kind of been thrown out the window. But looks like we're getting into the game. It is game number 1. And in the top left, as the Red Terran, he is
OSC Pro Masa.
And spawning down in the bottom right position, representing Jim, it is Mexico's very own
JimRising.
He's representing Jim.
Yep. His name is Rising, representing Team Jim.
Yeah. Well, Masa is going to just try and start things with a bang and end things very quickly is what I meant to say. Going for the 2 racks here. Couple of seconds to let him maybe get a gas geyser, and if not, it will be the 4 racks, which we saw to end his series versus Scarlet. Oh, there's a gas.
Yep, so it looks like it's going to be the... okay, so it still could be 2 things. I think it's just going to be the 2 racks Marine to try and get some damage done at the natural. Not even necessarily deny it, but into that then Reactor Hellion, or it could be 2 racks Reaper with a proxy, but that's very rare to see in GVT.
Yeah, nowadays, like, no one's really going to be going Reapers. They have officially just been nerfed into what
oblivion,
they were, which is just a scout.
Yeah.
That's really it. Even Catalina, the strongest map, you'll see Reaper rushes out ultimately fail. So this makes a lot more sense. I think this was almost like made as a response. It's been around for a while, but I feel like it was almost as a response to how badly the Reapers are getting nerfed. They still wanted to apply pressure early on, but they didn't. The Reapers weren't working anymore. So what this does is apply pressure. It can win the game for sure, but if it doesn't, there's still an okay macro game behind it.
Yeah, and we see Masa still hiding that Marine, doesn't want a cancel on the base, and just shows it at the last second to start that DPS.
Oh, that is harsh news. So, generally, like, you think like the pool first could be actually a big boon for the Zerg player because they're going to have the Queen and the Lynx faster, but the downside is sometimes they just don't see the bunkers, right?
Yeah.
They can't put the spine crawlers on the creep until the hatchery's actually done, et cetera, et cetera. So this is the first time JimRising saw it. No Scout and Overlord, and he is already having trouble with it.
Yeah, and we are going to see the Roach Warren as the immediate response. So he's going to be looking to get out some Ravagers and bile down those bunkers. I think that's a good call. Not getting Ling speed, save up gas for a little bit more. Ooh, trying to sneak out these drones. Actually going to be able to get them into the main. Wow,
right.
that was very sneaky from JimRising. Good work.
Yeah, and this Queen shouldn't even bother Larva injecting. She just plays down a creep tumor to at least have that vision. We plant spine crawlers if it actually becomes towards a game like that. But honestly, most of the time the hatchery dies, the Queen survives, like hidden in the back, and then Masa's on to the macro game. He's like, well, you know what? I just got a hatchery. That's pretty good. I'm not going to test my luck here. He might keep the bunkers alive, sure, but the Ravagers will break through that soon.
Yeah, and I think it's possible to hit the 2 bunkers with a single bile. I think that should overlap.
Pretty close.
Yeah, it looks like it does. Wireframe shows that. So we're going to see Masa build even a 4th bunker. That's so much, and I think that's a complete wall-in. But, yeah, bile shots don't really care about that.
Nah, I mean, Corrosive Biles definitely will be the answer here, but it's going to take a while. You know, if he really just wants to draw this out, he can just bunker hop and even try and salvage before it's actually killed, and that'll still be a net game for Masa.
Yeah, absolutely. A while bile, by the way, which is a rhyme time. Very cheeky. That pity laugh. Yeah, so we actually have JimRising not really exploiting the overlap there on the bunker. Still going to be able to DPS this 1 bunker down, but it is going to take a while with those 2 SEVs repairing.
Yeah, that's the real problem is these SEVs actually getting a repair off.
Oh, and we actually see, a bit of a jump out, but not going to do much more. Meanwhile, CC being started on the high ground and Banshee with Cloak.
Yeah.
Ugh,
honestly,
that is going to be brutal.
Yeah, Masa probably could have gotten away with even a command center after factory or during factory, but yeah, he's going to have this Banshee pretty quickly, and Masa, regardless, like, he might have the answer. He might expect this, but he's at a terrible position. He's on 1 base. He's got these expensive Ravagers that can't counterattack, not with Banshees out. And then if he has to build Spore Crawlers, that's just, again, something that Masa's fine with him doing.
Yeah, and even going to salvage all 3 bunkers, moving home at what I think is a great timing. Ooh, look at that. Repair on the barracks so he doesn't lose that tech building. Doesn't seem like much because he's already got the factory out, but it's going to give him the ability to not have to build another barracks.
Is that 3 command center? He's building 3 command centers.
Wow.
Okay.
Can we just give a shout out to the memester right here? That is just beautiful.
That's excessive. But he's kind of in the right to do it. I mean, I don't think it's going to become the new way you follow up a tier axe.
But definitely not.
And certainly we see fast 3 base, and if you go for Banshees, there's really not much they can do, especially after killing their hatchery.
Look at this run by with the Marines, recognizing that there's no speedlings out of the map, just going to run right in with those, try and pick off some drones. Oh, wow. This is actually a huge play right here.
Yeah, any drones is absolutely brutal, and he's going to grab, like, an okay amount. The thing is, these Marines, like, yeah, he could have brought them home, and they could have been an even bigger push once he had medevacs. But, you know, his Banshee's going to keep him safe. He has to worry about losing them and getting countered.
And that's the key right there, is the Banshees are keeping him safe while he does that. So even though JimRising picks off all these Marines, oh, that's great. Now I can counterattack. Nope. Yeah. Not going to happen. You're going to get shut down by Banshees if you try that.
Yeah. I guess it's still a little bit in question if he was going to go bio, but he is building additional barracks. So.
Yeah. Well, especially when you float that barracks for so long, and especially following up with those Banshees. But I think he's in such a great position that following up with anything other than bio is just almost an unnecessary risk. Like if you go into bio, you can keep the pressure on. You can force the Zerg to not build that many drones and never catch up. But if you go into mech, then it's like, okay, you're slowing the game down a lot. You're giving the Zerg player a chance to catch up. And speaking of a Zerg player trying to catch up, Spire gets scouted at about 80% done. Not going to be able to get much damage done at all with that. NG bays are going to be done by the time those mutas pop out. Yeah,
missile turrets will cover any weak spots so the Marines can't go while they're still waiting for their stim and combat shields, which, I mean, there is that period of time. This is why 2-base muta could be very powerful back in the day. But they just don't have a lot of Marines. You know, they would be in the wrong position, you would pick some off, you'd flood with lings and make it a surprise on them. All things that would have been afforded had JimRising had a decent, you know, build up in this game, but he had to do so much to take care of his hatchery. It really isn't the same strength he would have usually. So I think there's like 5 mutas on the way. It's not a very impressive amount.
It's a number. It's definitely...
It's a number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is exactly one number, 1 digit. And that's the key. It's not, you know, 25 mutas. He's not going to be able to contain Masa for any extended period of time.
Yeah.
It's maybe he can get a few pickoffs on the edges, but some nice missile turret placement I think is going to keep Masa just fine.
Yep, 1 in each mineral line and then 1 around the production if you're a little bit scared, you don't have enough Marines, and that's going to cover you for a while unless they were, you know, this is a 20-minute game and there's 25 mutas as you're saying. Then it wouldn't, but the Ravager attack on the left side is a little bit surprising. He does target down the missile turret, so it's a little more obnoxious to plant it back down against the mutas, but...
Yeah, and this is actually the first time I think these Banshees have been revealed. So he is actually going to pick off all of the Ravagers and that 1 Roach that's there.
Yeah.
Really nice for Masa right there. But because he picked off the missile turret, 6 SEVs go down. Going to pick off quite a few more.
Yeah. But there's enough Marines. There's even a Thor on the way out. He added a tech lab to that factory instead of just getting Widow Mines. And even this Viking gets some executing blows occasionally. Its range on it is its greatest benefit.
Oh, the Thor pops out, and that could be really hurtful. Oh, those mutas are so red, but nice splits from JimRising.
Yeah.
Really nicely done right there.
Pretty sure he still lost a few, but at least he saved those really, really weak ones.
Exactly. And we see a drone trying to come in with a peace offering, guns down by those Gauss rifles.
No. Looks like he lost 3 mutas there, so... well, at least he's gotten map control back a little bit. This should not last long, however, as the Bioforce gets to be even bigger and bigger. He's going to move across the map, and unfortunately with JimRising having to go from mutas and then back to droning as hard as possible, doesn't have a lot of room to go for banelings and lings. So the Marines are going to come forth, and the mutas can't really deal with 30-plus Marines.
Yeah, and look at this, JimRising going for that Lingbane muta, but just now throwing down his evolution chambers after +2 is already on the way. That's kind of the state of this game right now.
Yeah, that's not super great. The Banshees even got in here and started killing drones, so...
Oh, yeah, no Spore Crawler, which I think was a good decision from JimRising because he needed to take risks.
I
really punished him.
I could have sworn there was a Spore Crawler.
I thought there was too.
Like, I'm not sure where he moved it. Maybe it's the one in the natural now. Guess so, but he made a he made a mistake because a lot of drones have gone down. He still is having trouble cleaning this up.
And even the Overseer coming back so late, going to let him get another 5, even 6 drones. Oh, 7th goes down.
Oh,
jeez.
Man. That was a really nice Banshee attack. It also distracted, of course, JimRising, probably not paying attention to his creep spread, which was going to be lackluster. He doesn't have that surplus of queens you usually see. And his mutas stopped harassing, so Masa was able to get back his defense. And now this huge army, I don't really think JimRising has enough to deal with it. His Baneliness is only halfway done.
Yeah, normally you'd be getting Baneling speed would be finishing up at this point, and you'd have 2-2 on the way. 1-1's not even done. Zergling speed is not even done right now. Yeah. And Masa's just going to absolutely wreck this 4th base, I think.
Oh my god, that's speed though. That's harsh.
Ooh,
Tries
nice
to grab
pickup.
The Thor, but nice micro from Masa.
Oh, nice
god.
micro from Masa. No. Ooh.
GG.
I almost just clapped there. Oh, jeez.
That bias casting, right?
Yeah. Can we get some clappers in the chat there? That was nifty from Masa right there.
It was, yeah. Well, I'm sure he was very confident. Obviously, he was very confident with that 4th command center, so the confidence in moving out made a lot of sense as well. Sometimes you'll see the desperation mutas actually turn into the clutchest maneuver where they have just enough banelings with that attack, and you're like, wow, I'm a genius, I'm doing this thing, but it doesn't happen very often, and Masa's a solid, grade A player, so.
But he's not grade S.
No, that's S for Scarlet, I guess.
Or Sir No Regret.
Sir No Regret?
Snow regret.
Snow regret.
Oh, man.
Sneeb. Yes, that all makes a lot of sense. But all right, so JimRising didn't really get to show us what his plans were for Abyssal. We're going to go into Acolytes. I actually would not be surprised at all if Masa continues to 2 racks or 4 racks every game.
Yeah. Maybe shies away from that 4 racks with how well Scarlet dealt with it. But obviously, it's still an option, and he did it in the series versus Scarlet.
Yeah.
Who's gonna think you put it in the same place again?
The same place, the same map.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I would, but because I know Masa. But
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, JimRising is certainly a different caliber of player. You know, talking a lot about his casting, and it's really cool that he's becoming kind of a prominent caster.
Yeah.
But yeah, Masa's always been one of the top tiers in the NA scene. If he's tired, if he's having a bad year, like it doesn't actually matter. He's still one of the top tiers. In NA, and that actually gives you, there's there's different words you can use for this, but like I usually go with star power, where you get into a series and you're like, I'm gonna win this, and suddenly everything works out for you, and you're just like, well, that was as expected. Yeah,
and yeah, you're like in that flow state where it's just like, like you're not even really aware, but you're like, oh wow, I just split my Marines perfectly and killed like 20 banelings for 2 Marines. Like, oh, that was great.
And it's that type of like dynamic too, where if JimRising had actually done like a baneling nest or something, or sorry, a baneling bust.
Yeah.
In the first game, Masa's probably just like, well, I don't actually know what's happening. He's actually entirely thrown off because I can imagine Masa feels pretty confident against JimRising, and that game just proved it to him. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I have to wonder if JimRising's going to be able to make his game plan known. You mentioned that he wasn't really able to play what he wanted to in game 1.
Mm-hmm.
We did see a bit of it with that Muta style, but yeah, I hope we'll be able to see a little bit more of his personal flair.
If Muta's, they might have been a reaction, that desperation Hail Mary to that game, but they also might have just been something that he does usually do. I'd be very happy to see a Muta user Zerg again, because it happens so rarely nowadays.
It does. I know Game Time tries to make it work.
Yeah,
he's pretty good. He's a very high APM player.
The best thing about Mutas I can say about them right now is Ling Baneling Hydra still looks so powerful, is that sometimes, especially if you were in Heart of the Swarm and you did those aggressive things with Muta Ling Baneling, like the no upgrade all in kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
It actually throws Terran players off. I haven't had to deal with that forever. They haven't had to deal with like a super aggressive Zerg, they're usually thinking about tanks against the Hydras and a slow push. Like it's very different momentum. And that's one thing I can say might be in favor of JimRising if it goes Mutas.
Absolutely, and getting another nice shot of that really sexy shield.
Yeah.
I kind of just want to take that. Do you think they'd notice?
No.
Oh, now they have my picture.
They wouldn't have noticed, a couple hours ago, I think.
Yeah.
But now everyone's chilled and just like,
Yeah.
I think they notice.
Yeah. I think definitely me saying it out loud too is probably
that
not
also
gonna,
didn't help.
Yeah.
Like actually just see a producer run over there and bodyguard it.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got plans.
Throws down auto turrets left and right.
Yeah. They've always had cool ideas for trophies, though. I mean, last year even had a kind of a different trophy. There was the Ice Cube at one of them, like a long time ago. That was like the first time I think I heard of like ESChamp.
Yeah.
So a long time ago.
Yeah, there's definitely been some cool ones. I can't remember what it was, but there was one. It was like the artifact from StarCraft 1. It was like, how in Wings of Liberty you collect the 5 artifact pieces in the campaign, and then you put them together and they destroy everything. Yeah. Spoilers. If you haven't played Wings of Liberty campaign by now, you're...
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. But it's cool, Hell It's About Time had the championship belts, which was really different. Yeah, that was pretty cool. To actually have a real shield, I don't know how they got it made or designed, because, usually you just go to the little trophy store that usually caters towards like kids hockey, right? And you're like, just put that on the little dinky trophy. And no, I don't know who you'd go to for that, but it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah. Would you go to like a blacksmith or I guess it's not made of steel.
Blacksmith down the street.
A woodsmith, a carpenter.
I'm not sure. I imagine there's people that are usually like prop modelers for movies and stuff that do a bunch of freelance gigs. So
that would make sense.
Even like you could probably go to a cosplayer, like a professional cosplayer, and be like, make this, and they'd be like, yeah, it's exactly like this thing I made.
Yeah. Oh, I've made 7 of those. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, guys, while we're waiting for the games to get started, as we go to game number 2 on Acolyte, don't forget, we're going to give big thanks to Cheers for Gaming and Asus, as well as, of course, go to that Matcherino and use the code KOTN4 to contribute to the prize pool, as well as anything else you guys would be willing to give to support an awesome tournament with some awesome players.
Hashtag grassroots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
definitely. NA StarCraft doesn't get the love I think it deserves. We've got a lot of really hardworking players here, a lot of hardworking people.
Fear Dragon is doing his best to change
He is.
that.
He's competing with Total Biscuit for who is the most
Supportive.
Yes,
that we say. There
yeah.
we go. Who's the most supportive of the scenes that they love?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can be supportive with it. Yeah.
It's actually kind of forgot. Like, Total Biscuit obviously loved for his monthly Kings Shoutcraft.
Shoutcraft Kings, yeah.
I couldn't remember what it was called, but he was like 5 years ago just really supporting a Korean scene that had kind of died down.
Yeah. Well,
So-
Axiom was like so cool.
It was.
I loved.
Yeah.
Same.
What are those teams? The ESF teams, right? Is that what the
is that
non-Keswick teams were?
is that the?
There was the Keswick teams and there was the ESF teams. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure is what they were called. Digging back into the
Are
history
you thinking
here.
like EGTL?
TSL, Startail.
The ones before the.
Yeah, they tried to make like a
Brood War
federation and
players
try and.
switched over.
Well, I don't think they had to make it until the Brood Wars players switched over, and then they were
Okay.
like, "We want to keep our identity and not go get in grab them by Kespa."
Right. Yeah.
And
So
then
there was
eventually
like
everyone
Prime.
did.
There was like Startail.
Yeah, exactly.
New Star Hoso. Did they stay
Yeah.
back when Jakti?
Yeah, Joshi was
man.
on that.
I loved that. Was one of my favorite finals
Man,
ever.
No, that was back when I was a Zerg player, and I was just
Ooh.
like the saltiest little Zerg whiner. Like especially the last map, game number 6.
Oh man, it was like everything about that series was like so painful to watch because Lenok was the best in the world at that point with his EVT.
He was.
But Jakji was so well prepared.
That was actually, I mean, to Jokshi's credit, now that I'm less biased, right, about the whole thing that went down.
Yeah.
Like he came out with a bang, He came out and immediately just
did.
killed both overlords, and that's
Yeah.
when everyone was like, "Wait a second.
Wait, you can know where they are on the map?
Whoa. Yeah,
And then he put an orbital command behind a
the
mineral line.
lines. Can you imagine Liberators on that
Yeah.
map right now? Like,
Oh jeez. Oh please no.
Just put all the Marines back there, cover them with Liberators. You're never getting close to my army. But, all right, guys. Game number 2 is finally ready. It's going to be on Acolyte. In the bottom left has the Red Terran. He's up 1. He is...
OSC Pro Masa.
Shout out to the audience right there. And
Yeah.
spawning up in the top right position from Mexico. It is the Zerg player. Give it up for...
JimRising.
So close, so close.
Very good.
All right, so it's not going to be... it's not going to be a proxy. Did versus Scarlet. And JimRising is going to go ahead and take that natural and that outside that place. Actually, we were talking about this when we were just, lying on the couch, sitting on the couch, about how Acolyte can actually be quite a popular map for 2-base Nidus Worms, because you can kind of
Yes.
hide the existence of your third from a Reaper.
We are going to see, I think, at least a gasless opening from JimRising, though. So we'll have to see. Okay, it's just going to be gas after the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, generally, if you think you're safe enough, it's going to be gas before.
Yeah. It's definitely a little bit economically better.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be not as pure, I think, as...
It's not a pure build.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, so it is going to be that gas. Get that early speed. We'll see if he goes for any Overlord speed, because again, we did not get to see what JimRising is playing like, because he was the one that had to deal with the T-Rex.
Yeah, definitely going to be a factory follow-up right here. So could see what you were talking about there with that possible 2-base Nidus. I would love to see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's very possible. So I don't know if JimRising has that type of the idea of like I'm coming in here, I'm the underdog, I didn't think of things to do. Because if he is, then maybe that all-in is worth it. And it's an all-in that's actually been working. You get some like Baneling busts that haven't worked in years, but no, this Nidus Worm thing has actually been working. Maybe he does try it, or maybe he's just like, finally, I get to play my macro game and I get to show things.
Yeah. And he is going to go for that lane speed there. It's going to really help out a lot. Definitely an ooh, nice. Gets the Spore Crawler down. Going to save that drone. Really big deal. You never want to lose the early drone. Not that it's that much damage, but that it's such a tempo thing.
Yeah, I always it feels like, I mean, any race, I don't want to give this, because we're talking about Terran on the analysis lounge last time, but even for Zerg, right, that tempo change. Plus, whenever you lose something early on, it just always feels a little bad.
Feels bad,
you see like someone being super greedy, and you're just like, I hate you right now, but I can't do anything about it.
Yeah. We do have what looks like it's going to be Hellion Banshee coming out of Masa. We'll have to see if he throws down maybe an Armory. Goes for some kind of Hellbat Banshee push. But I think we'll just probably see Hellion Banshee and Macro out of that.
Yeah. You know, Ravens have been making their way in many maps, usually Abyssal Reef, but sometimes on other maps too. But I agree, the Banshee makes a lot of sense. We have been seeing a lot of Banshee after Viking. The Viking, you know, doesn't guarantee that it's not going to scout the Banshee. It doesn't find that first Overlord that quick. Yeah. But it does still, I mean, Viking's still useful. You know, the Pult Viking from years ago. Take care of the drop or the Overlords to have a drop path later on. But
wow, actually getting 5 drone kills with that Hellion run by. And even possibly going to save this Hellion. Oh, nice. The Hellion's rallying and going to save it.
Nicely done there. So always going to be threatening that third, or that natural, actually. Even once again, getting in there and getting quite a few drones. They're lining up as well.
Line them up. Line them up. Oh! Roasted.
No.
And 19 drones go down.
That is devastating. That's actually a game-winning amount of drones.
That was for sure.
And once again, we cannot see what JimRising's actual macro plan is going to look like. This is such a hiccup.
And we do see, as you said, the Raven follow-up coming in. And it is going to be mech.
All right, good to see the mech. So talking about how Masa can play all different styles. And I love watching him drop and harass and, you know, pressure with bio. But mech is always still that kind of special thing you like to see every once in a while, though it's been changing lately. And Masa, when he originally threw it out in Montreal, he did try that double port Banshee opener. Didn't really work out. Generally, his mech is fairly good if he plays like a standard silo mech. Yeah,
he plays kind of what Uthermal plays a little bit, which is like that aggressive mech.
Oh,
it's like what 4GG used to play back in the day when he played in Heart of the Swarm.
Name, man.
Yeah. The difference was 4GG was never hesitant. If his like 2 base, well, it was usually 3 base or 4 base mech push failed, he would just not hesitate to go into that Turtle, Raven, Viking pleasantness.
Yeah, he'll be coming back, I guess, soon enough. Maybe, I think, a couple months left on his military service. Man, we're getting so many people back from military service. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, definitely aggressive mech. You know, the double Thor drops that can just harass and even kill bases if they're not attended to. But, you know, we're going to bring up what you were talking about last game, about going into mech after getting an early victory, that it does kind of draw the game out. And if Masa does miss the execution timing, shall we say, JimRising can come back from 20 drones are lost early on.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more possible against mech than against bio. But we did see 3 drones with the first auto turret, and another 2 more go down as well as quite a bit of mining time. So Masa continuing to keep that worker lead, even denying some creep, while he takes a significant army supply lead.
Yeah, this is a great use of a Raven, and which is why it's not, you know, it's not just harassment, it's not just Great Abyssal Reef with that hanging natural, or Acolyte, I guess, with the hanging third. It's actually just great in general.
So much versatility.
Yeah, and JimRising, of course, has been just spending all his time trying to drone. Has he even scouted that it's mech? He's probably been so worried about his own macro.
Yeah. Just trying to get up to a respectable drone count again, not even an overwhelming one. And meanwhile, it is, I think, going to be what you spoke about, that double Thor drop coming in from Masa.
I'm still not sure if it was mech.
And it's so devastating to play against, particularly on this map, because the third base is, the natural expansion is just so exposed. Nice run by attempt from JimRising, but I don't know if he got any workers killed there. Might have gotten 1.
Maybe.
But yeah, looks like 1 worker killed. Jeez. That really tells a story right there. 49 to 5 units killed. Oof. That hurts to look at.
Yeah, so there's certainly something to be said about Banelings against mech. You go for a lot of Hellbats, and that's your buffer for your Thor Hellbat push.
Yeah.
Then you flood in with Lings. It's actually a pretty good combination, if everything goes according to plan, right? Like, sometimes it really doesn't.
This is going to be a devastating combo right here. The double throw drop with Hellion run by at the 4th.
Yeah.
I expect to see a huge amount of damage done.
Oh, no. That 4th is not protected at all.
Oh, and the Hellbats.
Oh, gosh.
Even that 1 Hellion in the front tanks a bit of damage there.
Yeah. So the hatch rate is going to go down. This is not being attended to fast enough. The drones will probably survive. Thors don't usually go after them, but this is another devastating blow to JimRising, and actually he's going to just tap out.
Yeah. From that point, I don't blame him at all for that. That is aggravating to play against.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with, like, I would say, too, he's already taken so much drone damage. He just took more drone damage. He just lost his hatchery, but there's the other thing, which is that you can't actually stop the Thors.
Yeah,
no, to stop him.
There's nothing, and that's why so many Zerg players are starting to stop taking their natural there. Someone like Snoot, for example, he avoids taking that base like the plague.
Yeah, he'll take it as a 6.
Yeah,
you know,
he's like, okay, until I have Vipers out, it's not safe.
Yeah.
I just want to draw attention to the fact also that JimRising looks a little bit like reverse Batman right now. Just the way the light is, it's like cutting off the bottom of his face, like he's wearing a cowl upside down.
Yeah, so you can see my eyes and know who I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Nah, but I mean, he was only on his, I think he was just finishing his Hydralisk Den, so he actually had no anti-air. Queens would have died to the Thors.
Yeah, no,
so
he had, I think maybe...
It was a terrible position for him.
Yeah.
No going anyways around it, because as we were talking about mech maybe giving position, not that style of mech that Masa was playing.
That's the thing. The style of mech to come back from, you need like 6 or 7 minutes to recover.
Yeah.
He got like 3.5 to 4 before he lost everything. Like,
yeah, you know, but even during those minutes, he's losing his creep spread, right? And he was probably just worrying about droning, and that's again something that just everything was going against him. I guess is the general summary, and unfortunately, this next map could be JimRising's last, as he's in the losers bracket.
Yeah, but still showing some nice moves. Like in that first game, really got to respect those Muta splits. That was really impressive to me.
I feel like if we ever did see Mutas, that would be where I'm most impressed. But I believe the Hydralisk Den was just this plan from the get-go last game. So
in game 2?
In game 2, I think that was actually just what he was planning on doing. So I'm not gonna get my hopes up for Mutas.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think it was a Hail Mary attempt in game 1.
Yeah. Oh well. So Masa's thrown us, a bit of cheese. He's shown us mech, and we're going into Interloper. They see just a 2-base push, actually a bio tank. I think they're pretty strong, but honestly, any push is pretty strong. Smaller map, definitely a lot of chokes.
Looks like we are going to be getting into it too. Also important to note, this is Masa's pick, so definitely favors towards what you're saying there, which is going to be, I want to end this game on 2 bases, or I want to be very aggressive. Or he's just really comfortable on the map. But I think it's one of those first 2.
Yeah, that's always, you always do this like heavy analysis of what's favored in this map, and they're just like, I just kind of like it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, all right.
Yeah, it just feels good.
That's fair.
I like, honestly, for me, sometimes it's a tile set. Sometimes I'm like,
no,
this tile set makes me feel gross. I don't like playing this map.
Yeah, I actually had an insane win record on Blood Boil. I was played like 10 games, 100% win record. I was like, I should play this map, but I hate the tile set. No, thank you. I will not do this. All right, it could be, as I said, the last game here coming into Interloper. In the top left, he's already up 2-0. He is the Blue Terran.
OSC Pro Masa.
Going for that gas first build. And spawning down in the bottom right position from Mexico. It is the Zerg player. He's orange. Give it up for
JimRising.
Let's see if he can claw it back on this one.
It is going to be difficult to do. Especially with the crowd behind him cheering for Jon Snow.
Yeah, cheering for the third player. Unfortunately, I don't know if you guys have played StarCraft before, but it is a 1v1 game. However, I guarantee you Jon Snow never loses this game. No matter how many times you play this, out of 100 times, he will never lose.
On the same level, though, he would never win. So it's a tough one.
Yeah, half glass, half full.
Perfect. Yeah. I called the crowd chowed earlier, like it's fine.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah, all nailed. All the nails hammered down. All right, so Interloper can certainly be an opportunity. So we always talk about, like, I said Catalina first and foremost, right, which is the reason that JimRising vetoed it. When you get it to a certain position against Terran, it's very difficult to deal with. But sometimes you have even the Terrans be hesitant on a map like that, because it means that they also could be facing some aggression, which we brought up at the very beginning of the series. JimRising could go for a Roach Ravager all in or a Proxy Hatchery, seeing Scarlet do it. He has not tried. He's not doing it in this game either. He's just not being aggressive, which I don't know, maybe he's not comfortable with it. Maybe he's more of a 2-base aggressive player from back in the day. Or maybe he just does, I don't know, just feels like it's not going to work.
It's possible that he plays macro, though, in his own style. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I just want to play, you know, like, late upgrades or, like, you know, heavy, 44 drone, like, 2-base saturation aggression, and then I make, you know, a bunch of rounded drones after some aggression. But, yeah, so far, it's been Masa dictating this series 100%.
Yeah.
And now, to be fair, that's kind of how it goes in TVZ. But with a player like JimRising, I wouldn't necessarily expect that. Ooh, meanwhile, loses a drone early on.
Always annoying. Always such a great feeling for the Terran player, though, on the flip side, which Masa's already probably feeling pretty good. Probably going to go into that loser's semis at this rate up against Jon Snow.
Yeah. Ooh, nice grenade right. Oh, but he gets the extractor.
Yes. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Team blah, 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 blah.
Perfect. We do have the tech lab being added on, and he get it for the Viking and into the Raven to clear up a bunch of creep, which is always a very painful move for, especially the queenless Zerg, which don't really exist anymore, but do sometimes occur. The guys that think 4 queens is enough, 1 for creep spread, and, well, it's not.
I'm one of those guys, and I can tell you it's not enough.
All right, no.
It's, I die to a lot of things.
Whenever I do play around with Zerg, I'm like, Snoop makes 9 queens and lives through anything, so that seems like a pretty safe thing to do.
Snoot's such an interesting player. He is so comfortable taking the game 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just mind-blowing. Like, it doesn't matter how far ahead. He will take it so late, even when he's ahead.
Yeah, actually, he's one of those players that is actually such a top-tier player, but I would still actually attribute him to lacking bloodlust.
Yeah.
I was speaking of that earlier. But that's definitely something not missing from Masa. I don't think he was really looking for the GG when those Thors dropped in the hatchery and killed it, but it made a lot of sense.
Yeah. I feel like Snoot's like, whenever he gets into a ladder game, he's just like, hey, why can't we just, you know, get along? Like, it's just relax, everyone. That was a pretty poor Norwegian
I was like, are you
accent.
attempting an accent or a style of speech? Like, what's going on here?
It was a poor attempt at both.
Okay.
But we do have, once again, that Viking Raven style. Not going to be Hellion Banshee. And a Roachborn coming out from JimRising, so maybe we're going to get to see a bit of his style come out.
Yeah, all right. So we do have another factory on the way from Masa, so going to be that mech. There certainly are some ways to bust down a mech player before they get to a solid type of unit, I would say, but also just, you know, the amount of units. So he started off with mostly Hellion Thor, considering what happened last game. That makes sense. He had it in like 1 tank, I want to say. But yeah, if you face someone who goes Hellion Thor, sometimes overwhelming with roaches can work. Even if they go for tanks, actually, catch him really early on, that can also work. But we don't know what JimRising's plans are. If he doesn't take drone damage here, we'll finally see his actual macro game. Yeah,
look forward to that, hopefully. Was able to deflect those Hellions, shows
Spire.
a Roach, so JimRising is good, or sorry, Masa is going to have an idea, but yeah, Spire immediately thrown down after showing that Roach.
All right, I got the pretty excited about this, seeing what exactly that's going to, how they're going to be used, and I don't mean, you know, literally like they're supposed to buy time, but actually his control, his micro, it seemed like it was going to be good use if he had not taken so much damage in that early game, game number 1. So I have some faith that he can find some damage to do, and I think against a mech player, it's always just a little uncomfortable, especially just a fast Spire as well. This is not like, you know, 12-minute transferring into Spire after a Roach all in, something like that.
Yeah.
This is pretty early, and there's a chance that Masa just doesn't expect it. In fact, there's a high chance he doesn't expect it.
Yeah, I think, did JimRising only build 1 Roach?
He built 3, I want to say.
3?
But he showed 1.
4.
Oh, okay.
4, yeah, but like a very small commitment to Roaches. And I don't think I don't think Masa's necessarily sniffed that out yet. Also want to draw attention to earlier on, some really nice micro from Masa, just pulling back those weak Hellions. Not a hugely difficult thing, but nice attention to detail. Retains all of them.
Yeah,
It's good stuff.
Right,
yeah.
I can tell you, though, Masa has played a game recently online where he actually even, I thought, saw it was a 2-base Spire. Like, legitimately a 2-base Spire, the fastest you can go. But he didn't. He had no preparation, and he still won going mech. So this is a bit later of a Spire, and the armor's already done. So even though this is going to be a surprise, I think Masa has the gumption to survive long enough to get to Thors and missile turrets.
Now, the one important thing to note is because he saw those Roaches, his first units out of those factories are tanks. And so I think, could even damage a tank and do some nice chip damage to the paint. That's going to be nice.
Yeah.
Going to force the repair.
You're making a really great point, actually, that he is going tanks, whereas maybe if he hadn't seen the roaches, maybe he still thinks he's safe going for those Thors and those Thor drops as soon as possible. He might still try after this next round, but of course he sees the mutas and that, he has to make them anyways.
Yes, exactly. But he's going to have to, he just now starts production on one. And going to lose, I think, quite a few SEVs. There's actually no anti-air to defend against that.
But I would say JimRising might be the one making a mistake by just chilling and killing SEVs. I mean, this is a lot of SEVs, and we should be very hyped. This is actually really great. Muta. But if he had stayed over there too long, Masa can replace SEVs. He's on 4 command centers, so he really needs to kind of get the snowball really working here.
He's killing so many workers,
Yeah, this might be enough.
32 workers? Jeez, and really nice target fire on those SEVs. This is so much damage. Oh, 4 Widow Mines popping out. Got to get out of there, though.
Yeah, and the Thor's,
nice.
I want to say the Thor's almost done. So he hasn't actually killed the command centers yet. But by following those SEVs into the natural, he has just doubled the SEV kill count, and he might still get the command center.
I want to draw attention to a nice little move there from JimRising. He had one Muta parked over the production to see this. Oh, look at this. Oh, no, those Widow Mines. Don't fall for it.
Don't fall for the trap.
Don't fall for the trap. Okay, he gets out of there.
Okay, yeah, he saw it.
44 workers all told killed, though, and the 4th command center.
Yeah, this is really, really good. That 4th command center was super greedy by Masa, even if it was a Roach player. Yeah. Like that was going to be lifted almost guaranteed, but it's actually killed by the mutas, and 46 SCVs go down. Masa was building them while that harassment was going on, but only from 2 command centers. So it's still 33 workers to 77 drones with JimRising. JimRising should be feeling very good about this game.
And okay, this is exactly what I was looking for from JimRising. This is what I think about when I think about South American and like Mexican players is whenever you play them, you're like, ugh, that's infuriating. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
So like showing like 4 roaches. That's brilliant when you want to go mutas. Like the entire reason that worked is because he was able to hide the Spire and make Masa think that he was going for that Roach push.
Yeah, if he
had
shown nothing at all, I would say there's a good chance a scan goes down in both the main and the natural, because Masa knows how important scouting is. But I was going to say, let's talk about how Masa comes back into this game, and these Blue Flame Hellions get 10 drones and manage to survive. Maybe he'll get another 10 later on. But this is what he has to do. He has to buy time, bring the army back, whatever the army is coming to be, and get equalizing drone damage, which is going to be hard to do with just Hellions roaming around the map.
Yes, really nice route, though, on those mutas to make sure that the Hellions can't sneak away. And I think he just picked off all of them. This is kind of risky.
That bold. Yeah.
Bold. Yeah, bold with a capital B.
I think he saw the Hydras. He know there's mutas. And, okay, the Thor can take a few punches. The Medivacs can be microed, but there's a certain point they just have too much anti-air. This is actually just foolhardy.
Yeah. And I like this setup with the mines right there. Those Hydras, though, are they going to be able to get this? Is there anything to contest?
Well, I don't think they'll be able to get it. Well, actually, no. There's 2 Thors there. It's going to be close, and he's not mass repairing. He was actually repairing the command center, but I was going to bring up that this does mean the Thor drops are going unscouted.
Yes, that is true, but also really nice use of those mutas. Baits out the Thor shots and able to get some damage done there. But we do see, the Thors could possibly pick up this 3rd. No, I think the Hydra should be able to save it.
Yeah, but
going after the Medivacs, nice job to zone those away.
Yeah, if Masa had paid attention a little bit earlier, he might have been able to kill all the Hydras. Actually, those reinforcing ones.
Oh, wow.
Never mind.
Almost able to pick that up. Nice target fire on the Hydras from those Thors. Really, really nicely done, actually.
If those Thors had lived, even if they hadn't killed the Hatchet, but if they had lived, I actually wonder if JimRising started a bit of a throw process there. It's a bit too strong of a word, but like he did commit all of his mutas. He did lose some Hydras, getting a 4th. He wasn't actually able to, just a single Thor. But now with 3 Thors down and a Medivac as well, that's still JimRising in a very good position.
Yeah, for sure. And even going to be evening up these upgrades right now. Actually going to have a small lead for a little while. Wow. That army came out of nowhere. And there's just not enough to deal with this. Oh, even target firing the rocks was Masa.
Yeah, this is going to be game, I do believe.
Yeah.
JimRising fighting back finally, getting the mind games in here, getting the bad scouting to work in his favor. Masa is going to desperately hold on to, I guess, his main base, but I believe that 3rd is going to go down, and the 4th should fall after.
Yeah, and I really want to sing the Mexican national anthem.
Nicely done. JimRising does, in fact, take a game. Masa with the just incomplete scouting.
Yeah, really, really nice mind games out of JimRising there. I think that's what you got to basically say what it was 100% was those mind games.
Yeah, he intentionally went for a Roach Horn to show a couple of Roaches and into Aspire, which if Hellions run by, that's scouted. If a scan randomly goes down, that's not going to do nearly as much damage. He's already going to have the Thors, but it was specifically seeing Roaches that made him build the tanks first. Because maybe he does build the Thors in an alternate universe very first and foremost, and the Mutas don't kill 40 SCVs, they only kill 20.
Look at JimRising hamming it up over there, slamming down his keyboard as a joke, I think, based on that big old grin he's got on. Yeah, but I think SOS would be pretty proud.
You think so? SOS?
I think he would, yeah.
I don't know if SOS is the king of mind games. He's kind of the king of, like, why would anyone ever do that? I feel like mind games is a little more like, you know, clever and like articulate, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not just kind of in your face, brutal cannon rushing into 5 extra bases.
Yeah, just kind of like, you know, like bops you in the face.
Yeah, it's more elegant. There you go.
Yeah. So maybe MC then? I
was actually trying to think of a good person. The last time I remember being really, well, I was told to be impressed, but I wasn't that impressed, was Genius faking a 4th gas at the GSL.
Okay.
And people were like losing their minds. He built a gas and didn't mine from it.
What?
I was like, yeah, that's cool, dude. Like, yeah, he's a real genius.
I remember MC I think he was the first one to do stuff like that, so he was like, I'm going to build a Nexus and still 4K.
Well, okay, yeah.
But it was like Metalopolis, where you could force field the ramp from like out of the range.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Some of these old maps, you know. Well, there was, I always confuse Metropolis and Metalopolis. I'm never ever going to get that right, ever.
Yeah.
But there is the one map where you could, there was smoke in the back. You could put a pylon down in and warp in.
I think that was, oh, that was Metalopolis.
Okay,
yeah.
we're talking about the same one? All right, yeah, because Metropolis is that huge one, right?
Metropolis is the one where MVP got Vortexed. Yeah.
Oh, I was actually thinking, sorry, about MVP and the T-Rex.
Oh no, that was on Daybreak.
Ah, you are correct. Well,
this is how I won StarCraft Jeopardy.
I was like, is it really on Daybreak? I'm actually going to double check you on that one later. But we are into still what could be the final game here on Ascension to Ire. In the top left, getting finally a point on the board, he is the Orange Zerg.
JimRising.
A little bit disjointed there, but spawning down in the bottom right position. It is the Terran player from Hydra 5. Give it up for
OSC Pro Masa.
I think the second one really great. But yeah, it's like maybe we're MVP 2-Rack Squirtle, right? That was
yes, yeah. MVP 2-Rack Squirtle. Yeah, so it was like game 5 or 6 on Metalopolis where he had Mass Battlecruiser. Or did I say Metalopolis? Metropolis, where he had Mass Battlecruiser.
Yeah, you're right.
There was like the Void Rays and the Storms. Ugh.
Yeah.
And it was the Mothership flank. So cool.
That was really cool. That's still going to be a highlight to show anyone.
There's stuff going on right now, though.
Yeah, very important stuff. JimRising barely missing out on 2 racks, which I think that Overlord was intentionally trying to scout out.
Yes, it
some
was.
greedier placed ones.
Oh, jeez. And that was snatching victory from the jaws of defeat.
This is going to be brutal.
No, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, it's like a reverse saying. It's
does that really work? All right, so we once again had that situation where JimRising went for the pool first, and his hatchery is a little bit later. But this is actually an even earlier pool, I believe. So Lings are already out here to scout, to see the bunkers making, which is very different than the first game.
And going to be throwing down that Roach Warren once again, and I would think a second gas. Really quick drone pool. I like that. Got to target down the SIV on the building bunker, though. No, he's just going to commit to the Marines. Maybe a good decision here.
You have to be very careful not to actually pull the drones too much. I mean, there's definitely been a few historic games where this is exactly how the Zerg players threw a game that otherwise they did have a good build against.
Yeah, and even targeting down the low drone is Masa. Really nice micro. Target firing down all of these. And this, oh man, this is actually a ton of damage that JimRising is taking.
Yeah. Okay, so he didn't lose the last 2, but in doing that, he did manage to, well, he actually just didn't kill the SCVs, so Masa was the one that managed to get the bunker up, which is only 1, but this is also only the 2-rack. So, you know, if he does any damage at all here, there's still that macro game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I think even if Masa did no more damage and lost pretty much every unit from this point on, I think it would still be his advantage because of all the drones he just killed right there. And he's going to have the Hellions coming out at home.
Yeah, it's such a tricky thing, too. Like, if this was the 4 racks, then sure, like, don't lose all your drones, but, like, lose enough to stop the snowball effect. So since the 2 racks version, you can see that Masa has a substantial lead in those workers with the mule, the 1 mule right now, but, of course, many later on.
Oh, I hope he targets down the hatch here.
I don't think he can quite get it. Yeah, he's not going to be able to get the hatch.
Oh, gets the queen snipe, though.
Nicely done. Maybe the
Marines. And even jumps out to get the roach.
Nice.
Oh, just misses the salvage, but that was really, really nice right there.
Yeah. All right, so that is actually a kind of a scary force, though. Those roaches, the lings, and he has transferred his factory off. This is that time where they did come across the map. He would have to buy time by mass repairing and maybe losing SCVs for that Banshee. He didn't go for a Cyclone immediately. But it's like this timing's not really worth it usually for the Zerg player. The slow roaches, the huge map, they'll repair, and then you're going to lose all your units.
Exactly. It is that huge map is the big deal there. But we actually aren't seeing a Banshee being built here yet from Masa. So if JimRising commits, this could actually do quite a bit of damage.
I think he was actually, I think this is an accident. I think he was late to a second gas. He didn't have enough gas to start a Banshee, much less like gas for Banshee and Cloak.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're right about that. And the fact that he got his 3rd command center before that really confirms that.
I think he was actually, you know what, he probably had the perfect amount, but then he got a Cyclone because he was scared.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Oh, he needs to pull that Cyclone back, though. Going to take quite a bit of damage. Or actually...
No.
He just barely saves it there.
Yeah, and that actually still ends up being favorable for him because now the Spotty Bow definitely won't go down, and the repair will fix the Cyclone right up. And this is just that loss of roaches you were talking about.
I always forget how much damage Cyclones do. They shoot real fast.
Especially if they have +1. Yeah, so the Banshee is now on the way. Maybe the Cloak will be on the way eventually. Actually, he's going for a Viking. So maybe just the safety Banshees, I like to call it. Something that, you know, you don't have to really commit to attacking, but does help you against any roach pushes. Well, I think that's the 3rd command center on the way, or is that the national just finishing up?
Is that another?
Okay, yeah, it is 3rd command center.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, there are some 2-base follow-ups to this that could be kind of brutal, but I say definitely on the bigger maps as well. But just in general, I think the 3cc follow-up is, in a way, safer. It sounds weird. The 2-base gives you more units. How is that safer? But 3cc gets you into the macro game, which is where I'm more worried about.
And if you do lose a couple SCVs, you can rebuild them quite quickly. I remember back in the days of Heart of the Swarm and some Wings of Liberty games where you would have players go down to like 9 SCVs, and they just claw their way back because they had 3 command centers and all their production was done, so they could be on single-digit SCVs, but they'd come back.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not as pronounced now because when you do like a Roachling Bane follow-up, you can turn the remaining Roaches into Ravagers.
Yeah.
It's a better transition.
Roach Ravager is a better transition. There's less minerals, so you can't just stand 2 bases, and so you can calmly take the 3rd base. So
yeah,
it's definitely different.
If you triple command Mule, you're going to be in trouble pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be
but we do have
soon.
double factory coming down as well as that double armory.
All right, so mech follow-up here. Masa was definitely caught by surprise last game, but this is going to be maybe... I mean, first of all, he's going to be a little more important about scan. He's probably just going to waste a scan, even if he's like pretty sure he knows what's going on. But it's also a game where, again, he got some tempo change to JimRising. You know, he doesn't get to do what he wants to do. And, again, I'm not sure he's scouted that it's mech yet.
Yeah, but yeah, just the state of this game. That 3rd base is just finishing up now for JimRising. Does have a small worker lead, but like he took quite a bit of damage early on, even though he saved his natural.
Yeah, this worker lead is only recent, so you know in the income graph we'd probably see a huge spike for Masa. Well, not a spike, but actually like just a nice boost for him, basically.
Yeah, as his production comes online. Yeah. It's really gonna make things a lot more aggressive for him.
Yeah, with the safety Banshee, I don't think he really had to get that tank that he's been getting first when he was a little scared. Oh, does he have it? That actually was a tank shot, so I guess he does have it. But he is going into double Thor drop. So
those Lings were MVPs right there. They actually killed, I think, 4 SCVs with friendly fire. Meanwhile, Carapace coming in from JimRising, so this is usually indicative of like kind of getting aggressive. You just have a little bit more survivability to your units, and then you try and get a little bit more aggressive. But Masa going to have those 1-1 on the way. And we do have this double Thor drop coming in, going to be potentially really, really punishing once again.
Yeah. Of course, he killed that hatchery, and that's what caused JimRising to tap out. But say that he doesn't kill the hatchery, he finds a couple of Hydras. He's still going to be able to fly around with these Thors. He's taken out a lot of the Overlords, so he can actually circumvent scouting. And if he doesn't do any harassment whatsoever, the real extreme here, there is still a push you can do to a really greedy Zerg with Hellbats and
Hellbats and Thors
against what is mostly Hydras, no Banelings quite yet.
That was so great for Masa right there. For the cost of a little bit of damage, he killed, I think, 4 Hydras and forced a cancel and killed the Queen.
Yeah, that's nice. And this is the situation where you only have Hydras, and it's still a growing count of Hydras, so you can't really dependably take down the Medivacs. This will continue on until you build maybe like a Spore Crawler in the right position. Maybe you actually get to focus fire for a couple of seconds. But yeah, as much as Masa wants, you can keep these Thors microing as long as his macro isn't faltering, which Masa generally with some really good multitasking usually is on point in both sides.
Yeah, and we are going to see some Hellions running by the 4th. Going to get shoot away here. Nice positioning from JimRising.
Technically take the Hydras on as well.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you're right about that. I always forget. Oh, big save right there.
Oh, very close. And there's Blue Flame finishing up. That's what I was waiting for, to definitely take on the Hydras. Oh, he's looking for the drone line. And I don't know if there's any Hydras in position. He's been building them and losing them and trying to follow the Thors so often. All right, he does have enough, so only 4 drones die.
But still, if we look at the worker count, we see that JimRising's well behind, and Masa's got his production online. He's building a lot of tanks at a time. He's got 2 upgrades on the way. He's cruising.
Yeah, everything has been kind of aces back at home. You know, maybe a
nice
macro here or there with 700 minerals, but he put that into a command center and more production. So JimRising, just looking at what he's building here, he's getting an infestation pit, but only just now getting a Bailey nest. Has had no room to be aggressive, has been not even lucky enough to grab the Thors. He's just been trying to repair his economy every time.
And he was so close, too. If a little bit of damage was put onto one of those medevacs instead of splitting them up, he would have gotten one for sure.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say if a little more damage put on the Hydras, because the 10 health buff wasn't enough.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. If he had focus fire, it would have been a lot better.
Look at this. Going to pick off probably, I think that was 6 burned Hydra corpses right there.
Dang.
This do it. Snap the medevacs next.
He's going to do it. He's found it. Well, Moss is looking now, too, so I think he's fine.
Oh, and JimRising on move command.
Oh, no.
Oh, and he says, you're not trapped in, or I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me.
JimRising has just had a heck of a game, basically. It's been him not having a bad economy, per se, but not great. And then he's constantly trying to get rid of harassment. So he's been splitting up Hydras, which do terrible split up in low numbers. Like, Kali and Julie should not be able to take as many out as they have. Not without the help of the tanks, but this looks like to be the winning move.
Yeah, and really nice positioning on that push on the right side. We have the tanks covering those Thors, and then the Thors are in range to threaten that hatchery. This is just really, really technical play out of Masa, and he's going to take down the series.
Yeah.
3-1 to the Canadian-Korean Phenom.
Yes. GG, JimRising unfortunately fall out of Kings of the North, but Masa continues on, still alive, to face his next opponent in the losers bracket. JimRising doesn't look too upset, and we are going to be, of course, asking them a few questions. But dang, that series, I mean, I'm glad we got to see some mutas. That Mind Games of the Roach is really cool. Definitely props to JimRising for that. But yeah, just overall, Masa, I think, was the more solid player, no matter what style he played.
Yeah, more mech than I was expecting to see out of Masa, but still, flash of brilliance there from JimRising. Yeah. Really, he did kind of what I was expecting there. I was hoping to see more of like that trickery, that like Loki, like, oh, I'm Odin, not really type of thing, but it was still good. That was still nice to see. And yeah, we will see, I believe our final matchup of the night tonight is going to be Masa versus Jon Snow. Am I right in that?
Yes, I believe you're right.
Putting myself
yes.
on the spot.
Yeah, you really are. I'm pretty sure that it is, though. So I guess it'll be an exciting one. Well, I think it'll be an exciting one. We've had some 3-0s, right? I'm glad that one was a 3-0. It's a 3-1.
Yes.
But we've also, I mean, Semper Jon Snow was actually really exciting, so I'm kind of hoping something more like that.
Yeah, me too. Jon Snow looking really good right now, though. Like against Semper, he looked very, very solid. So
he did, yeah. And, you know, we keep talking, like, I know that Fear Dragon keeps talking about him that way, but the consistency guy, right? And this is the stepping stone to bigger and better things, taking down stronger and stronger opponents more and more, I guess, more often, and then also taking, you know, championships home, which, I mean, Masa is only, you know, partway there, right? There's so many other good guys. I mean, Neve is still, I think, Fear Dragon calling him an elephant in a room, because talking about all these other NA players that are kind of close to each other, and there's like, oh, yeah, but there's Neve. So.
Yeah, who's kind of like... It's kind of like he's on a different plane of existence. Like, we're all humans, and he's a deity.
That's why he has his own little section of America. That's why he's no longer American.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
if we could just get Neeb his own WCS region, that'd be great.
Yeah, that
Blizzard,
that'd be fair, guys.
Just like make it his house. Just like, oh, and in a surprising upset, Neeb has won the qualifier once again for the Neeb region.
He has to play against his mom and dad.
Yeah.
Amazing series, guys.
You better throw this or you're grounded.
All right, guys, that's going to be it for us at the caster desk. So, analysts, take it away.
To the analyst couch thing, I'm joined here with Penguin and my boy, Fear Dragon.
Capital F, capital D.
Capital D.
This is why you're not my boy.
Oh,
because he doesn't have a capital D?
It hurts.
He has a capital P.
Ah.
Penguin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Can we
Moving
settle
on.
down,
Moving
please?
swiftly onward.
Yeah, we're trying to do a show here, okay, guys?
Yeah.
Interesting series, honestly. I'm happy to see Yim take at least one game.
It was a cool game as well. I really like that we saw more use of mutas than we've seen so far. I mean, obviously the meta has shifted more towards Lingbait and Hydra, but seeing muta-centric styles always very, very close, near and dear to my heart. So it's nice to see a little bit of muta edge, and it's very nice to see Jim take that game 3 on Interloper. And really, really cool build. Just a lot of very, very aggressive play with the Lings and the mutas, just pressuring him until he broke. And very nicely done. Unfortunately for Jim, not quite able to take it in the end. Masa, kind of good at this game.
Kind of good. Was very kind of good, that series.
Yeah.
But I agree. I really like the use of the mutas. It's like Zerg versus Terran seems really cookie cutter right now. And he actually controlled them really well.
Yeah.
Like, I saw some instances where I'm like, those mutas are dead, and he actually gets out of there. I was like, what?
Masa was trying really hard, too. He was, like, trying to bait him into the Widow Mines and
he,
everything.
Like, chases the mutas with Thors, and, like, somehow they don't all just die. Because I'm like, every time, I'm like, well, my mutas are dead. Great. He's going to push and kill me now.
And that's coming from a code-ass Zerg. Yeah. It's really hard to do,
It's hard to control them. He did really good job at defending and not, like, dying, which was cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah, really interesting series. I think we're going to have a winner's interview at some point. But I think we're probably going to send it off to a commercial. This has been No Regret with the Analyst, boys.
He's making it sound like we're ending the broadcast.
No regret.
There's one more match as well, so
with the
it's going to be
Analyst,
sick.
the couch. I'll see you guys later. I love you all. Take it away. What's up, guys? Shield here, coming at you from Kings of the North. I'm here with my friend Maru Masa Kim, who may or may not win me at some point. How you doing, Maru? Oh, just kidding. It's no regret. Not Shield. How you doing? You're good?
Yeah.
You're good? Feeling good after that series?
I mean, not too much because it was 3-1. Should have been 3-0.
Really? Are you
Should have
still
been 3-0.
Should have been 3-0?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. So fix that, I guess.
I like...
So maybe get better is would that be the answer?
Which?
Just getting better. What if you got better at StarCraft?
have you ever thought about that?
That was just luck.
That was just luck?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It was, yeah, the one game you lost was pretty interesting. You saw the 4 roaches, and then he just went mutas and killed more than half your SCVs.
Yeah, what happened there? I've actually never seen an SCV die to a muta since like the most recent patch. It's actually been pretty crazy.
It's really refreshing to
happened?
see.
Where you're just like, whoa, what is this unit? What's going
but
on
this
right
thing
now?
happens all the time. The only time you don't go Thor, there comes mutas. So.
I see. You don't make Thors just for harassment? Like, you've never seen the Thor drop? I feel like that's a pretty
I thought
common
it was
thing.
going to do Roach all in instead. So that's why I made tanks.
Fair enough.
I feel that. I feel that. So, you did lose a game to JimRising. How does that... Is that, like, resonating with you a little bit? Like, I lost to JimRising. Like, what's going on?
I like that this is a winner's interview, but we're treating it like a loser's interview.
I mean, he's on the couch with 2 losers, so, I mean, might as well make him the third.
Yep.
Just pull him on
Peas
in
in a pod.
I'm putting the leg down. Oh, okay, we're doing the other leg.
And
So what's up?
Masa behind the meta right here, even wearing white shoes. Jeez, what a clash! Did you know that it's after Labor Day, sir?
Nah, I don't know this stuff.
We do have the
That's-
same shoes, though. Like, he's got the white version, I got the black version.
Yeah. So yeah, that was still a pretty interesting series. You went mech a lot. Are you on the Thermal hype train? Are you on the aggressive mech?
No, it's just easier to control. You don't have to do the split.
Yeah, that's true. You really don't have to work hard.
Yeah, you
Is that
just-
what you're saying?
Yeah.
So mech players are worse than bio players, right?
They're not worse. They just are more lazy.
More lazy. Okay. So it's not that it's a conscious decision then. Okay.
So,
All right.
you're playing against Jon Snow, the real King of the North. How does that make you feel going into that match? Are you scared? Are you nervous?
I mean, he saw the series, so he's going to think I'm going to go mech, but I'm going to go bio, so I'm going to crush him.
Right. So
Okay.
you were telling him now that you're going bio because you went mech that last series. Jon Snow, Masa is going bio. Okay, this is me helping you. You're a Zerg
And then
player.
I'm going to go mech.
Can we get
that would be like the
a
next level
drop
meta.
cleanup on base 4, please? We got Masa going bio.
Masa going
Masa
bio.
going bio.
That's one last call. Masa and bio. All right. So I guess we don't have anything else to talk about. You want to
No.
say anything to him? Like, he's listening somewhere. Like, you can just
I mean, he should expect Proxy Thorax somewhere.
expect proxy 2x.
So. Yeah. So that's a good hint for him, I guess.
Which game are you gonna do it on?
Pretty much every maps are OP for Zerg, so
Ah,
any
okay.
map
Okay,
is,
so every map then.
right?
Any map where he can make Hydras?
just any map.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So like, yeah, so any map
Every
that he
map.
can make Hydras, which is OP for Zerg, so any map. Okay, so you heard it here first, folks. It's going to be Proxy 2 racks every game.
All right, guys.
And if he doesn't do that, it's a breach of contract.
We are going to send it off to a commercial. I know how much you love those, but yeah, take it away, commercial.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Kings of the North. We are hopping into our last series of the night. Joining with me is Zombie Grub. How you doing?
I'm good. I haven't really changed much since the last time you asked me.
That's great to hear.
Yes.
Sometimes things change. Sometimes your favorite player gets knocked out of the event. And sometimes you get to just watch another hype, awesome rematch from many other NA LAN events. And this is one of them, Zombie Grub. Jon Snow versus Masa. I like to think of the big moment where Jon Snow really kind of became God Snow over at Cheesadelphia, number 4, where he actually beat Masa 3-0 in the semifinals. A really big breakout performance for him.
Yeah, and how long ago was that?
That was, I think, beginning of the beginning of this year? It may have actually been February of this year. It's been a while.
I'm trying to test you on your NA knowledge. Bro.
Oh.
Bruh, please.
Bruh.
Bruh.
Do you know the answer? Is it really a test? I could have told you anytime, and you would have believed me.
And I could tell you anytime, and you can't really dispute it. So
That's how
that works.
That's true. That's how this works.
Amazing.
Oh.
Knowledge here. Anyways, actually, I am looking forward to this matchup, whether it's historic or not. I just think that Masa is, maybe not looking as great as ever, but he is throwing out some mech builds, which is always interesting. And then Jon Snow is looking as great as ever. Dependable Jon Snow, actually consistently rising, looks to be just in fine form for this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is really going to be more so, kind of like what you were saying, Jon Snow just seems to be very consistently rising and is consistent at the tournament, consistent Snow. It is, in a lot of at least my mind, it's going to be more about how is Masa going to play? Hey, what kind of Masa is going to be able to turn up to this series? Because generally, we've talked about this multiple times, Masa's the player that it's really how he's doing on a particular day, not just a particular series. So can he really turn that around?
I'm not sure. I mean, it seems like today, of course, he just beat JimRising 3-1, but even that one, it was tricky, and, mad props to JimRising for doing it, but even that one, maybe he's thinking, like, I probably shouldn't have, I usually beat JimRising a lot, like, okay, I don't know. Like, I mean, it feels like this is an off day for him, which is just really unfortunate when it comes to tournament time, because you really only have usually 3 days, but in this case, 2 days to show your best stuff. Before you're potentially knocked out. So he's already survived this long, but could still be knocked out by Jon Snow. And not having a good day, doesn't matter if tomorrow's better. Yeah, that's absolutely true because he doesn't get another shot, like you said. But the kind of nice thing is that I think a lot of the reason why he's maybe not feeling as good is just because he was, people were mentioning before, Scarlett was saying, oh, you saw him just sleeping somewhere, just because I think he's lacking sleep a little bit right now. So you know what, if he can make it tomorrow, he can get a good night's rest. Sometimes you get the best night's rest after you've just had a night of no sleep. So maybe tomorrow can be better, but like you said, it is one final hurdle. Jon Snow he has to beat to make it to tomorrow, to the final day. And then he can finally sleep and have a different day tomorrow. But Jon Snow just played up against Semper, which I guess we're seeing right now. And it was a long, grueling battle. Every single game was, even the game that started off with an all-in. And while Jon Snow might be a little fatigued about that, it does put him in preparation to play against potentially long games against Masa's mech, perhaps. Or even just going into the late game versus that bio, because Masa can play, and we'll play both. That's a really interesting question is, do you think that Masa will go for mech? Because I've talked to various players here today, and some people think, Masa sometimes he seems to go mech, sometimes he doesn't, but it really doesn't seem super consistent on whether or not he's going to do so. Maybe it's depending on the player or some other factor, but... sometimes it is map dependent, but I feel like lately with the rise of mech in the last 6 months, versus Gumiho, Gumiho's always a mech player, but kind of proven that it would even be useful in GSL finals, right? And then innovation, bringing out more builds. I feel like people are just looking to use that as a different way of playing. Just to, like, you throw in a different build, you throw in a different style, right? Yeah. In a best of 3, best of 5, whatever. So I don't know if that's Moss's plan, or maybe he just really is like, you know what? I feel like going mech right now. Yeah, that sounds like a good thing to do. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Because I totally do what he's doing. I totally actually feel like Masa's one of those kind of players who he'll think about whether or not it makes sense to go for a particular build order or something in a particular situation. He'll do it, but on the spot. And a lot of the time it is sort of the mind game of like, well, the last thing they'll expect right now, because I've gone so many games as Bile, is that I just do go mech. Or maybe he feels like, you know what, on the ladder, I rarely go mech versus Jon Snow, but versus this particular series,
I'm going to go mech versus Jon Snow, just opening up.
Yeah.
Masa's that kind of player.
Masa's always going to be a question mark, I guess. Continue talking about him. We see actually Jon Snow maybe being helped by No Regret.
Oh, God. We
Oh,
got
boy.
the all-ins
Oh,
coming
no.
out, dishing them out.
Yeah, like he's always just been a kind of a question mark. You know, he doesn't really talk a lot. He doesn't stream a lot. Or when he does stream, it's not like too communicative. He doesn't. You don't really get to see the inside of his brain, and you don't really see it in his style either. Like he's just solid on all accounts, and he tries all things, but he's never really been like super stylistic aside from his strengths. His strengths are what makes him, I think, what everyone identifies as a style. But it's not actually like super stylistic, you know, oh yeah, it's the Masa style that he's playing.
I think it used to be more so the case like way back in the day when you'd always see Masa, and he'd be the one that was always going for proxies and aggression and everything. But since then, he's very much rounded out his playstyle. He's gotten good at macro. And like you said, he's kind of gotten better at just honing his strengths and just becoming a more all-around player.
Yeah. It's actually really hard for me to pinpoint exactly what I would call Masa, other than just like a strong player. You know, like sometimes he can be super cheesy depending on the day. Sometimes he can play mech all 5 games.
Sometimes he can go through the entirety of WCS Challenger, beating even players like Neeb 3-0 by literally proxying every single game the entirety of Challenger and actually winning it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, it's a mixture of just playing to his strengths, to his opponent's strengths, or weaknesses rather, and then I suppose maps also do eventually have something to do with it. But Jon Snow, I guess, talk a little bit about him. Oh, actually, we're getting into the game.
Oh,
so take
even
it away.
better. All right, spawning down here, audience. I want to hear you guys on this one. We have the red Terran player. Give it up for Masa.
OSC Pro Masa.
And spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player. Give it up for Psystorm Gaming's
Psystorm Jon Snow.
Jon Snow.
You know, that's going to be a really sad chance for Jon Snow after he gets knocked out.
Hey,
Oh.
potentially.
Oh, unless he makes it all the way to the grand finals and wins.
Yes, of course. That's always the...
I just imagine the grand final ceremony, someone still chanting, "Let's go, Jon Snow."
Yeah, as Neeb hoists the trophy. Yeah, that's probably going to happen, considering what they seem to be planning on anyways. All right, well, yeah, before we got actually into the game, the player introductions, just going to talk a little bit about Jon Snow, and I think, of course, most notably playing against Semper just not 30, 40 minutes ago. He has been well tested in TVZ, and especially late game TVZ, which he also finds himself very comfortable. Semper did as well, but obviously Jon Snow was a little bit better with the 3-1. I wonder how Masa is going to compete. I mean, maybe there's more of the mid-game finishes to the game. Maybe Jon Snow still continues Roach Ravager all-inning, which he threw out once or twice.
Yeah, you know, it was really interesting because he was talking with like players like Semper, he was talking with Scarlet, and actually even talking with Neeb a little bit, saying like, okay, what am I going to do? And one of the really interesting things that he said, I kind of made a hint at this before, but I didn't want to say it until they started the game. Jon Snow was really convinced, just really absolutely certain that Masa was not going to open mech versus him, which I thought was really kind of strange, just because Masa has been going for mech, as you said, so often this tournament.
Yeah,
or
that
just
is.
in general.
Yeah, that's actually really weird to hear. You know, consider 6 months ago, you say X player is never going to play mech against me. Well, that makes sense. They never play mech against anyone. Like, you know, what a concept. But no, nowadays, a lot of people, if they play it once, they're practicing it. So they play it more than once, you know? There are certain, like, Beyond, I don't think I've seen play mech, even still, despite the Innovation Senpai. So, I don't know. But, yeah, Masa's not enough mech that I'm surprised Jon Snow is so, he believes that so strongly, because that actually is a belief that could bite you in the butt, man.
Yeah,
like, you don't bother scouting. It could be really
This
hurtful.
is really nice, though. He's going to catch the SIV before the command center's finished up. Those 6 lings going to be able to delay this natural.
Ooh.
Actually getting it very low. You might be able to force a complete cancel on this. That would be huge. The Reaper is making its way back, but it's still so far away.
You got to pull the SCVs. There's too many lings.
Oh.
Even if you brought the Reaper back, they could actually still tear down the command center in time. So it is going to take care of it, but I believe he's also making a bunker somewhere.
Yeah, this is still just getting so dicey
Third
because
base.
he built it. Okay, well, that's not going to be very helpful with these lings, but he does clean up all of the lings eventually. Might lose one more SCV. No, manages to save it, but so much lost mining time. And the
Yeah.
command center is going to have to be repaired up, which is more of a lost mining time.
Yeah, I would usually say that's a pretty good use of 6 lings, but this bunker block is actually a little bit making me question mark it. You don't really want to put your third hatchery most of their places on Abyssal, although a lot of Zergs do put it where I think he's putting it right now, which is the middle right.
Yeah, I've even seen some players, instead of just going for like even the middle top side of the map, you go on the low ground, a little bit more forward. I don't really like that position as much, but I've seen it occasionally, and I think this is, like you said, more of just a compromise to a bad situation.
Yeah, but some people do like it, so I hope that he's like studied it and seen it and at least seen its strengths so that he's not too off-put by this decision he had to make.
Yeah, wow, Reaper really surviving for a while and making its way into the main base. Not really getting scout on too much besides just seeing some gas, but actually distracting the Queen, so they pull away from the natural, getting 6 drones BBQ'd. It's going to be able to back out of there even with one of the Hellions still alive.
Yep. More Hellions on the way and possibly into, well, he's been going Viking and then Raven. Maybe Banshee, but it's Abyssal Reef, so Raven would not be a bad idea just to harass. But also, we saw him do it on Acolyte, clear up, creep, spread. This Overlord, a slow Overlord's going to get a freebie scout, but it's going to need to come back later to specifically scout for mech, which again, Jon Snow, if he's really confident, might make a mistake about.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what Jon Snow opts to do, if he's just going to be okay being a little bit more in the dark about that or what. But one thing that Masa is definitely pretty oftentimes very good at is getting those drones roasted and just doing nice aggression in the kind of mid and early game stages. But we already have the Spore Crawlers going down, so even though there are Widow Mines on the way, it's going to be a little harder to deal with those. He's going to have detection for at least most of the Banshees and should at least have all the tools he needs to help defend here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he has gotten a lot in a lot of these series today, Hellion run-bys, that he really should not be getting as many drone kills or even anywhere close to the drone line. Jon Snow seems to be especially on point about not letting them close.
This third also, the more I'm thinking about it, the more vulnerable it feels like to big Hellion run-bys and everything. It's such a open area. There's so much space for these Hellions to maneuver, and even though the creep is connecting the bases, it takes a long time for Queens to help out over here. Even the Lings take some time to actually transfer over to that third.
Yeah, there is already a lot of creep spread there, though, so unless Masa was prepared to give away his Hellions, he wasn't going to be able to actually dive forward. And then there weren't that many drones anyways. Like, why dive forward? So I like that he pulled back. He's going to save it. Combo with the Raven, so he can clear up the creep spread.
Yeah, nice for cleaning up creep spread. And also nice if you put it right behind that natural base. You can throw down some auto turrets and just put on some really, really easy harassment. Actually, it's going to be going in with some of these Hellions once again. Gets 3 drones and backs out of there after losing a Hellion or 2. Ling's going to give chase. But, Masa about to turn that around. Jon Snow pulling back. It seems like overall Jon Snow hasn't taken too much damage, but he is he's an okay drone count. He's at 54, but still losing a few here and there. How do you feel about the economic situation right now?
I think it's still fine. I think the most important thing about a situation like this, where you're taking like okay damage, is to just not freak out about it.
Yeah.
It's the one that keep their composure and keep their timings and keep their rhythm. As a Zerg player, the ones that make this look like no big deal, and it's the ones that get supply blocked and forget their gas timings. That are the ones like, oh wow, 10 drones did more than I think they did.
Yeah. 8 more workers go down, and I mean, Jon Snow's replacing them as they die, so it's not the end of the world, but still, at this point, 55 workers, this isn't exactly what you consider a healthy number. It's a satisfactory number of drones.
Yeah, I mean, he's also making more Lings, which I thought he had enough of for a little while longer, but his scouting since that first Overlord has been cut because of the Viking, and that might have put him in a very uncomfortable position. So again, that paired with what is nice damage on the drones is probably really throwing off his game. So he's definitely finding himself in a bit of a pickle, and Masa is